Earth is home to more than 8.2 billion people, spinning through space at nearly 1,600 kilometers an hour and wrapped in oceans that cover 71% of its surface. It feels familiar, but hidden beneath the maps are so wild. From a peak that sits closer to space than any other point on Earth, to a trench deep enough to swallow Everest whole, to deserts that were once thriving rainforests, and lakes that can erupt with deadly force. We brought to you 50 of the most shocking geography facts from around the world, and it'll change the way you see our planet. So let's dive in with fact number 1. Did you know that Russia is bigger than Pluto? At about 17.1 million square kilometers, Russia stretches so far across the globe that it covers 11 time zones. It's so massive that it actually takes up more surface area than Pluto, which is about 16.65 million square kilometers per NASA. I mean, imagine that, a country on Earth outsizing an entire planet. But if you think that's as far into space as Earth's geography can take us, wait until you meet a mountain that's closer to the stars than Everest. At number 2, did you know that Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador is closer to space than Mount Everest? Everest may wear the crown as the tallest peak, rising about 29,000 feet above sea level. But because Earth bulges at the equator, Ecuador's Mount Chimborazo, at just over 20,000 feet high, actually sticks farther into space. If you stood on its summit, you'd be closer to the stars than anyone on Everest. At number 3, Mexico's crater that ended an era. 66 million years ago, this spot was ground zero, where a 10 to 15 kilometer asteroid struck the Yucatan and ended the reign of the dinosaurs. The Chicxulub crater is over 110 miles wide, and it's so massive that its outline can only be revealed through geophysical imaging and a ring of sinkholes. It's not just a hole in the ground. It's a reminder that geography can literally reset life on Earth. At number 4, did you know the Mariana Trench is so deep that Mount Everest would disappear inside it? The Mariana Trench's Challenger Deep plunges to about 10,935 meters. Drop Mount Everest at 8,849 meters into it, and the mountain's peak would still be under by more than a mile of water. It's a world of crushing pressure and perpetual darkness. Speaking of mountains, at number 5, did you know the Mauna Kea in Hawaii is actually the tallest mountain on Earth when measured from base to summit? Mount Everest may tower highest above sea level, but if you measure from base to summit on the ocean, the true giant is Hawaii's Mauna Kea, rising at 10,210 meters or 33,500 feet, towering about Everest's total height, even though only 4,207 meters sticks above sea level. Most of it lies hidden beneath the Pacific, making it the tallest mountain on Earth by far. At number 6, did you know that Earth's rotation is gradually slowing down? The planet beneath your feet isn't moving as fast as it used to. Earth's rotation is slowing down, just roughly 1.7 milliseconds per day every century. It's so subtle that you won't notice it in your lifetime, but millions of years from now, a day on Earth will stretch far longer than 24 hours. At number 7, Turkmenistan's eternal fire pits. In Turkmenistan's Karakum Desert, there's a blazing pit that's been on fire for over 5 decades. Locals call it the door to hell. The Darvaza crater, about 70 meters wide and 30 meters deep, was likely lit to burn off leaking methane. It's commonly reported that it started when a Soviet drilling operation went wrong, igniting a pocket of natural gas. At number 8, did you know that deep in the Amazon rainforest of Peru flows a boiling river, hot enough to kill almost instantly? Hidden deep in the Peruvian Amazon flows the Shanai Timpishka, or boiling river. Its waters can reach nearly 95 degrees Celsius or 203 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hot enough to cook and deadly to anything that falls in. Local legends once spoke of its curse, but science reveals that geothermal heat beneath the Earth is to blame. Number 9. Tanzania's Lake Natron is so salty and alkaline that animals which fall into it become calcified, appearing as if they've been turned to stone. In northern Tanzania, Lake Natron looks beautiful in shades of red and pink, but at pH levels of about 10.5, its waters are so alkaline they can burn unadapted skin and preserve unlucky animals that fall in. leaving mineral-coated, statue-like remains. It's a place where life seems frozen in time. At number 10, the Atacama Desert in Chile is the driest place on Earth, with some areas that haven't seen rain in centuries. Across Chile's Atacama Desert, some places went centuries with virtually no rain. It's so dry, NASA tests Mars gear here. In 2015, rare downpours hit parts of the hyper-arid core. The sudden fresh water killed many of the desert's ultra-adapted microbes, like flooding a Mars lab. Scientists testing its barren soil have even compared it to Mars. And here's the twist: life still clings to it. Tiny microbes found there prove that even in the harshest deserts, Earth refuses to be silent. Number 11. Africa's exploding lake. On the border of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo lies Lake Kivu. Beautiful, calm, and deadly. Beneath its surface is a buildup of methane and carbon dioxide so vast that scientists say it one day could trigger a limnic eruption, sending a suffocating cloud over the shore. With millions living nearby, it's one of Earth's most closely watched lakes. Today, engineers are even tapping Kivu's methane for power to reduce the risk. Fact number 12. Speaking of extremes, the Bahamas is home to incredible blue holes. Scattered across the Bahamas, the sea suddenly plunges into blue holes with massive underwater sinkholes that drop hundreds of feet straight into the abyss. The deepest, Dean's Blue Hole on Long Island, plunges to about 200 meters or 660 feet. To divers, they feel like portals, where dazzling light above fades into pitch darkness below. These ancient holes were carved during the Ice Age, yet today they look like entrances to another dimension. At number 13, Mexico's bottomless cave of swallows. In San Luis Potosí, the Sótano de las Golondrinas, or Cave of Swallows, has a vertical shaft depth of roughly 376 meters. It's so deep you could drop the Statue of Liberty inside it, not once, but about 3 to 4 times, and still not reach the surface. Birds spiral in and out of its mouth every morning, disappearing into shadows so dark it feels like staring into Earth's lungs. At number 14, the Sahara was once green. Today, the Sahara sprawls across approximately 9.2 million square kilometers, bigger than the entire US. But long ago, during the African humid period, roughly about 11,000 to 5,000 years ago, this desert was the exact opposite. A lush rainforest filled with rivers, hippos, and crocodiles. Fossils and cave paintings still whisper of the time when this desert was alive with greenery. Yet, if the Sahara's secret is its past, Death Valley's shock lies in its present. At number 15, Death Valley in the USA is the hottest place on Earth, with temperatures hot enough to fry an egg on the pavement. Welcome to Death Valley, California, where the air can sear your lungs, and the ground itself can fry an egg. In 1913, the temperature here reached a blistering 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than the inside of a car on a summer day. Its heat pushes the very limits of survival. But while Death Valley bakes in fire, far away, another place drowns in endless water. At number 16, did you know that Mizoram in India is one of the wettest places on Earth? High in the hills of northeast India lies Mizoram, where moisture-loaded Bay of Bengal winds slam into steep mountains. A town where the skies seem permanently open, with nearly 12 meters of rain a year, among the highest on Earth. For people here, rain isn't weather, it's a way of life. At number 17, Antarctica holds a staggering 70% of the world's fresh water. Antarctica is more than a land of ice. It's the planet's water vault. Over 70% of all Earth's fresh water is locked away in its frozen sheets. If it melted, sea levels could rise by more than 200 feet, which could drown coastlines around the globe. At number 18, did you know that Ethiopia's Danakil Depression is one of the most extreme places on Earth? The Danakil Depression in Ethiopia, part of the Afar Rift, is one of the hottest, most hostile places on Earth. And parts of the basin sit about 100 to 120 meters below sea level. Here, sulfur springs bubble in neon colors, salt plains stretch endlessly, and volcanoes ooze molten lava. It's so extreme that scientists compare it to the landscapes of Mars. To walk here is to stand on the edge of another world. That's just how strange and diverse Earth's geography can be. At number 19, imagine stepping into the heart of a volcano, a place where very few people have ever been. Located in Iceland, Þrýnakujigur is a dormant volcano that's unique for its enormous accessible magma chamber. Unlike typical volcanoes where the magma chamber either fills with solid lava or collapses after an eruption, this chamber mysteriously emptied, leaving behind a vast hollow space. Today, it's the only volcano in the world where visitors can safely descend up to 120 meters into the magma chamber using a specially designed lift. At number 20, did you know that the Antarctic desert is the driest place on Earth, with some areas receiving less than 20 millimeters of precipitation each year? Antarctica isn't just ice, it's the world's largest desert. In the McMurdo Dry Valleys, extreme cold strips away snow, leaving a landscape so arid and lifeless that NASA uses it as a Mars analog. Liquid rain is essentially absent, and the valleys have stayed largely ice-free for millions of years. It's Earth's strangest contradiction, a desert in the middle of a continent of ice. Number 21. Point Nemo, the loneliest spot on Earth. In the middle of the Pacific lies Point Nemo, the most isolated place on Earth. Here, you can be closer to astronauts in low Earth orbit than to any human on land. Even the nearest islands, Ducie Island, Motunui, and Maher Island in Antarctica, are over 1,600 miles away. Space agencies even use the waters around Point Nemo as a spacecraft cemetery for controlled re-entries. But even in places this remote, the ocean hides mysteries that seem impossible. At number 22, the ocean hides underwater lakes and rivers called brine pools. Deep under the waves, there are rivers and lakes that flow inside the ocean itself. They're called brine pools. These are pockets of super salty, dense water that don't mix with the sea around them. To divers, it looks like standing at a lake's edge, while still hundreds to thousands of feet below the waves. At number 23, did you know that the Pacific Ocean is so vast that it covers more area than all of Earth's land masses combined? Yeah, the Pacific Ocean covers roughly 165 million square kilometers, while all of Earth's land totals about 149 million square kilometers. The ocean is so enormous that it covers more area than every continent on Earth put together. It holds about half the world's water, and stretches so wide it takes a plane nearly a full day to fly across it. Standing at its edge, you're looking out over the planet's true giant. On the other side, number 24, the Arctic Ocean is the size of Antarctica. It covers an area of approximately 14 million square kilometers, making it the smallest of the 5 oceans. It's also the shallowest, with an average depth of about 1,200 meters, with the deepest point at 5,500 meters. Wrapped around the North Pole and is surrounded by the land masses of North America, Eurasia, and Greenland. Its sea ice grows and shrinks with the seasons, but the ocean basin beneath is a permanent ocean. But oceans haven't always flowed the same way. Even mighty rivers have reversed their course. At number 25, the Amazon River once flowed in the opposite direction. Today, the Amazon surges east into the Atlantic. But millions of years ago, before the Andes finished rising, much of the basin drained in the opposite direction, spilling west and northwest into a giant wetland and toward the Pacific. How? As the Andes lifted, they flipped the course, rerouting the river east and creating one of the world's greatest rivers, the modern Amazon. And speaking of rivers, some lakes are so vast they could flood entire continents. Number 26. Lake Superior is so vast that it's often called an inland ocean. The largest of North America's Great Lakes, Lake Superior, contains about 12,100 cubic kilometers of fresh water. That's so much water that if you poured it out, it could blanket both North and South America under a foot of water. Superior earns its nickname too. Long fetch plus polar air equal ocean-style storms, the kind that have sent large freighters to the bottom, including the Edmund Fitzgerald. At number 27, the entire Alaskan town in one building. In Whittier, Alaska, nearly the entire town, Its homes, school, post office, and police station lives inside a single 14-story building, Baggage Towers. All share the same roof. An enclosed tunnel even links residents to the school next door. Step outside and you're in the wilderness. Step inside and you got an entire town stacked floor by floor. It's a city condensed into a single block of concrete. At number 28, the Denmark Strait hides the world's largest underwater waterfall. Between Greenland and Iceland, the Denmark Strait hides the world's largest waterfall. But you'll never see it. It's completely underwater. Here, frigid water flows beneath warmer currents, dropping about 11,500 feet, which is nearly 3 times taller than Angel Falls. This hidden cataract carries millions of cubic meters of water per second, shaping the Atlantic's deep currents. It's the greatest waterfall on Earth, invisible beneath the waves. But not all wonders of water are hidden. Fact number 29. Palau's lake filled with jellyfish. There's a jellyfish lake on a tiny island in Palau where millions of golden jellyfish drift like living lanterns in the sun. Isolated from the open ocean, the lake lets them evolve extremely mild stings, so most visitors can snorkel among them safely. To swim among them is like floating through a galaxy of stars, but under the water. Number 30. Where tomorrow and yesterday are neighbors. In the middle of the Pacific, geography bends time itself. In the Bering Strait, 2 islands sit 2.4 miles apart. Little Diomede, belonging to the US, and Big Diomede, belonging to Russia, are split by the international dateline. Meaning if you stand on one, it's today. Look across the water, it's already tomorrow. A 21-hour jump in time packed into a short stretch of sea. But while some places race through time, others seem to pause under a sun that refuses to shine. Number 31. Did you know that in parts of Norway, the sun doesn't rise for 2 whole months? In the Norwegian town of Tromsø, winter steals the sun for nearly 2 straight months, roughly late November to mid-January. The sky stays in twilight while stars linger at midday. For locals, daily life continues. Kids go to school, shops stay open, but all under a blanket of darkness. Go farther north to Svalbard, and the sun doesn't rise for nearly 4 months. At number 32, Alaska is both the westernmost and easternmost state in the US. Alaska is famous for being the westernmost US state. But here's the twist. Its Aleutian Islands stretch so far across the Pacific that they actually cross the 180th meridian, making Alaska the easternmost state too. Same state, sitting at both sides of the world at once. At number 33, Easter Island, also known as Rapa Nui, is a remote island located in the southeastern Pacific Ocean. This small island is famous for its massive stone statues called moai. These statues were carved by the native Polynesian people, mostly from a soft rock made from compressed volcanic ash. There are about 1,000 moai statues, averaging 4 meters tall, with some reaching up to 10 meters. How these huge statues, some over 80 tons, were moved several kilometers across rough terrain remains a mystery. The most accepted theory is that they were walked upright using ropes or rolled on wooden logs, which may have caused deforestation on the island. At number 34, Iceland's hot rivers let you bathe in steaming waters straight from the Earth's crust. In Iceland, it feels like the planet is exhaling. Under the frozen ground, Earth's heat escapes in ribbons of steam, turning rivers into natural hot baths. Hike up Reykjadalur or Steam Valley near Hveragerði and you can soak in a warm, winding river while snow falls on the banks, fire and ice side by side. It's not the only place on Earth with hot rivers, but Iceland makes it feel like everyday magic. At number 35, did you know that no point in the United Kingdom is more than 75 miles from the sea? In the United Kingdom, the sea is never too far. No matter where you stand, you're always within 75 miles of the coastline. That's about the distance of a morning commute in some big cities. The record most landlocked spot near Coton in the Elms in Derbyshire is still only about 70 miles or 113 kilometers from the sea. It means the ocean is their ever-present neighbor, shaping the island's culture, trade, and history. Number 36. The tiny country smaller than a mall. Vatican City may be the world's smallest country, just about 0.44 square kilometers. That's about the size of a large shopping mall campus. Imagine squeezing an entire nation with its own government, police, the Pontifical Swiss Guard protecting the Pope, and even a world-famous church, all wrapped around the world-famous St. Peter's Basilica. At number 37, the world's largest country without a permanent natural river. Saudi Arabia spans 2.15 million square kilometers and is the largest country in the world with no permanent natural rivers at all. None. Instead, they have only wadis, dry channels that flow briefly after rare rains. Cities rely on underground aquifers and desalinated seawater instead. It's a reminder of how humans adapt when geography doesn't give them the basics. And speaking of deserts, few places show the contrast between land and life more than Egypt. Number 38. Egypt, a nation squeezed into the Nile. Egypt spans about 1 million square kilometers, is the 30th largest country on Earth, but nearly its entire population lives along the thin ribbon of the Nile Valley and Delta, which make up just 5% of the land. The rest is an endless desert. Imagine squeezing over 110 million people into an area roughly the size of Costa Rica. That's the kind of pressure the Nile carries. Number 39. One Nigerian city bigger than a country. In Greater Lagos, Nigeria's booming megacity, an estimated over 20 million people live and work, over 3 times the population of Norway, an entire country which is 5.5 million people. One city holds nearly 4 times the population of a whole European nation. And Lagos isn't alone. On the other side of the world, one city outnumbers a country that size. Number 40. Tokyo City rivals Poland. In Tokyo, the lights never seem to fade. Street after street, tower after tower, the city unfolds like an endless ocean of humanity. With nearly 37 million people packed into its metropolitan area, the scale is almost unimaginable. That's close to the entire population of Poland, which is approximately 38 million people. This single megacity holds as many people as an entire European nation. Number 41. Africa has more French speakers than France. When you think of French, you probably picture Paris cafes and the Eiffel Tower. But today, most French speakers live in Africa rather than France itself. From Senegal to the Democratic Republic of Congo, the language lives on the world's second-largest continent. France is the birthplace. Africa is the powerhouse driving French into the future. At number 42, did you know that the US-Canada border is the longest international border in the world? Stretching more than 5,500 miles, the border between the US and Canada is the longest international border in the world. And what's shocking, most of it is completely unguarded. No fences, no walls, just a narrow, treeless survey/cut-through forest and boundary markers beside lakes and mountains. It's monitored by ports of entry, patrols, and sensors, but in remote areas, you'll see wilderness. But not all borders are about division. In one city, geography makes 2 worlds collide into one. Number 43. Have you heard of Istanbul, the city that spans 2 continents? Istanbul is the only transcontinental megacity in the world that straddles Europe and Asia on either side of the Bosphorus Strait. Cross a bridge or take a ferry across the strait, and in minutes, you've gone from one continent to the other. Few cities can claim to be a meeting point of civilizations quite like this one. Number 44. Africa. Bigger than you think. At about 30.37 million square kilometers, Africa is huge, large enough to fit the US, China, India, and most of Europe all within its borders with space to spare. Flat maps like the Mercator often shrink Africa to make it fit, but in reality, it's a continent of staggering size. And within that vastness lies one of the planet's most vital treasures. At number 45, the Amazon, often called Earth's lungs, is a rainforest like no other. This massive forest isn't just beautiful. It stores huge amounts of carbon, recycles its own moisture to seed the flying rivers of rain across South America, and stabilizes regional and global climate. And while it does produce oxygen, it also uses nearly as much, so its net oxygen contribution is small. Its true superpower is keeping the planet in balance. Number 46. Japan isn't just 4 main islands. It's actually made up of over 14,000 islands scattered across the Pacific. Beyond Honshu, Hokkaido, Kyushu, and Shikoku, modern mapping counts about 14,125 islands, making Japan far more fragmented than most people realize. Many are tiny and uninhabited, but together they support unique wildlife, hidden beaches, and centuries of culture, proving that Japan is a country of thousands of islands, not just 4. And speaking of things that are bigger, some of the world's most famous giants aren't quite what you've been told. Number 47. Did you know that the Great Wall of China, often thought to be visible from space, is actually not easily seen with the naked eye from orbit? Despite the legend, the Great Wall of China isn't visible from space. What astronauts actually see most clearly are the glowing outlines of entire cities and roads at night, but the wall itself fades into the landscape. Civilization itself shines brighter than any single structure. But not all borders are vast. Some are so small, they're almost hidden. At number 48, did you know that Monaco is smaller than New York's Central Park? Monaco, a sovereign city-state known for its luxury casinos, yacht-filled harbor, and the legendary Monaco Grand Prix, is smaller than Central Park. Monaco covers just about 2.08 square kilometers, whereas Central Park spans roughly 3.41 square kilometers. To put it simply, you could fit the entire country of Monaco inside Central Park with some room to spare. Despite its tiny size, Monaco is a glamorous playground for the rich and famous, packed with history, luxury, and non-stop entertainment. Number 49. Moving on to islands with no owner. Did you know there are just a few unclaimed lands around the world? On modern maps, true terra nullius, or nobody's land, is vanishingly rare. Nearly every place is claimed or disputed. A few exceptions exist, from empty deserts like Bir Tawil to the frozen stretches of Antarctica. These unclaimed patches remind us that even in a world carved up by nations, a few scraps of Earth still belong to no one. And number 50. If Earth were spread, its oceans would stretch in a completely different way, creating entirely new coastlines and landscapes. If you could magically flatten Earth's entire surface, you'd get a global ocean about 2.7 kilometers deep. That's like drowning every mountaintop in a single endless sea. Same water, new planet. And that's our tour of Earth's wildest geography twists. Which one blew your mind the most? The burning door to hell, the boiling river in Peru, or the idea of Russia being bigger than Pluto? Drop your favorites down in the comments. If you enjoyed this ride across the strange and the spectacular, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you never miss the next journey into the wonders of our world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.